I pull into the driveway of my childhood home and immediately notice my father's truck parked at an odd angle, like he arrived in a hurry. It's Tuesday evening, nothing special, just the monthly family dinner my mother insists on, even though I'm 28 and live 40 minutes away. The porch light flickers the way it has for years, casting uneven shadows across the peeling white paint. I grab the bottle of wine from my passenger seat, a mid-range Pinot Noir I picked up because bringing nothing feels wrong even when I'd rather be anywhere else. The front door swings open before I can knock. My mother stands there in her floral apron, the one with the faded sunflowers, and her smile is too wide, too bright. The kind of smile that doesn't reach her eyes but stretches her mouth into something that looks painful. "Emma! Oh, sweetheart, you're here!" She pulls me into a hug that smells like her signature perfume, something vanilla and cloying that used to mean safety when I was small. Now it just makes my stomach tighten. "Come in, come in. Dinner's almost ready." The house smells exactly like I remember pot roast, the one she makes with carrots and potatoes that turn soft and sweet in the Dutch oven. It used to be my favorite meal. The scent should feel like coming home, but instead it sits heavy in my chest, making it harder to breathe. Something is off. I've felt this creeping distance from my family for months now, maybe longer, but I've told myself it's normal. I'm an adult. I have my own life. People grow apart. I step into the dining room and the overhead light is blazing, all three bulbs in the chandelier turned on when usually my mother only uses two to save electricity. Everything looks too exposed, too bright, like a stage set. My father sits at the head of the table, staring at his folded hands. He glances up when I enter, nods once, then looks back down. My father, who normally greets me with a bear hug and asks about my marketing job, offers nothing but that single nod. Melissa, my younger sister, sits across from where I assume I'm meant to sit. She's 25, 3 years younger than me, and she's picking at her cuticles without looking up. Her dark hair falls forward, curtaining her face. She doesn't acknowledge my arrival. "Melissa's here early," I say, trying to inject normalcy into the strangeness. My sister usually shows up late, breezing in with apologies and stories about traffic. "She wanted to help with dinner," my mother says quickly, too quickly, her voice hitting a higher pitch. "Sit, sit. Let me get the roast." I lower myself into the chair, setting the wine bottle on the table. No one comments on it. No one reaches for it. The silence stretches and pulls like taffy. I smooth my hands over my jeans, suddenly aware of every sound, the scrape of my chair, the tick of the wall clock shaped like a rooster, my own breathing. My mother returns with the Dutch oven, setting it on the trivet in the center of the table. Steam rises, carrying that smell of cooked meat and vegetables. She serves my father first, then Melissa, then me. The portions are precise, identical. I watch the potatoes and carrots slide onto my plate, glistening with fat. "This looks great, Mom," I offer, because someone needs to speak. "Thank you, honey." She sits down, smoothing her apron. "I know it's your favorite." We start eating. The pot roast is tender, the way it should be, but it tastes like nothing in my mouth. I chew mechanically, trying to understand the tension that's thick enough to choke on. My father cuts his meat into small, precise pieces. Melissa pushes food around her plate without eating. My mother watches me with that too bright expression. "So," my mother begins, her voice taking on a casual tone that feels rehearsed. "We've been meaning to talk to you about something. Something wonderful, actually." I set my fork down. "Okay." "Melissa's wedding is coming up so fast." She clasps her hands together. "Can you believe it? Our little girl getting married in October." I've known about Melissa's engagement for 6 months. Her fiancé Brad proposed at some restaurant with a ring that looked expensive. I've heard about the wedding plans in exhaustive detail, the venue, the dress, the flowers. I nod because this isn't news. "We've been helping her with expenses," my mother continues, her smile never wavering. "You know how expensive weddings are these days. It's just outrageous what they charge for everything." Something cold slides down my spine. "That's nice of you." "Well, family helps family," she says, and there's an edge now, something sharp hidden in the sweetness. "We used some family resources to make sure Melissa has the day she's always dreamed of." Family resources. The phrase hangs in the air. I look at my father, who won't meet my eyes. I look at Melissa, who's gone very still. "What family resources?" I hear myself ask. My father clears his throat. He sets down his knife and fork with deliberate care, lining them up parallel to each other on his plate. When he speaks, his voice is flat, matter of fact, like he's reading from a script. We accessed your college fund to help cover the wedding costs. The words don't land at first. They float somewhere above me, not quite real. I hear them. I understand the individual components accessed, college fund, wedding costs, but they won't connect into meaning. I'm sorry, what? Your college fund, my father repeats, still not looking at me. The one your grandmother set up. We needed to use it for Melissa's wedding. The ringing starts then, a high-pitched whine in my ears that makes everything sound far away. The pot roast in my mouth turns to ash, to sand, to something I can't swallow. I force it down anyway, and it scrapes my throat. You used my college fund? My voice sounds strange, too calm, like it belongs to someone else. The fund Grandma Helen set up specifically for my education? Now, Emma, my mother jumps in, leaning forward with her elbows on the table. Before you get upset, let's think about this rationally. You already graduated. You graduated 6 years ago. You have a good job. A really good job, making what, 60,000 a year? 65, I say automatically. See? You're doing wonderfully. You don't need that money anymore. But Melissa, she reaches over and squeezes my sister's hand. Melissa still won't look at me. Melissa is starting her life. She and Brad need this foundation. A beautiful wedding sets the tone for the whole marriage, don't you think? I'm gripping the edge of the table so hard my knuckles have gone white. I can't feel my hands, can't feel my feet. Everything has narrowed to this moment, this table, these people who suddenly look like strangers. How much? I ask. Silence. My mother glances at my father. My father studies his plate. How much of my college fund did you use? All of it, my father says quietly. The room tilts. I grip the table harder, anchoring myself. All of it. The entire $80,000. 79,800 and change, my father corrects. And the precision of it, the casual accounting, makes something crack inside my chest. That money was in a trust, I say, and my voice is shaking now. Grandma set it up in a trust specifically for my education. How did you even access it? We were co-trustees, my mother says, waving her hand dismissively. Your grandmother set it up that way in case you needed the money before you turned 18. Which you did, for your tuition payments. We managed it for you. Managed it for me, I repeat slowly. You managed it right into Melissa's wedding budget. Don't be dramatic, my mother snaps. And there it is, the first crack in her cheerful facade. This is exactly why we waited to tell you. We knew you'd react like this, making it all about you when this is Melissa's special time. I turn to my sister, who's still staring at her plate. Melissa, do you have anything to say about this? She lifts one shoulder in a tiny shrug. I didn't ask them to do it. But you let them. Another shrug. She finally looks at me, and her eyes are cold. You don't need it, Emma. You already used it for college. I need this for my wedding. You used it for college, my mother emphasizes. All 4 years at state. Room and board. Books. Tuition. Your grandmother wanted to help with your education, and she did. That was the fund's purpose. Now that purpose is fulfilled and there's money left over, so we're using it where it's needed. The logic is so twisted, so absolutely insane, that I can't find words. I worked 3 jobs in college. I took out $40,000 in student loans that I'm still paying off because the college fund didn't cover everything. I lived in the cheapest dorms, bought used textbooks, ate ramen most nights because I couldn't afford the meal plan. Meanwhile, Melissa went to community college for 2 years, paid for entirely by our parents, then dropped out to work retail. Grandma wanted that money for me, I say, and I hate how my voice cracks. She told me. She said it was for my future, for my education, for whatever I needed to build my life. And you built your life, my mother says, spreading her hands wide like she's explaining something to a child. Look at you. You have a good job, a nice apartment, a car. You're successful. Your grandmother would be proud. And she'd want her resources to help the whole family, not just sit in an account collecting dust. Melissa needs this for her fresh start, my father adds, speaking for the first time in minutes. She and Brad are building a life together. A wedding like this, it's an investment in their future. I think about Melissa's wedding plans, the destination venue, the designer dress, The photographer she hired who charges $5,000. The elaborate floral arrangements she showed me on Pinterest. This isn't a modest wedding. This is extravagance funded by my stolen future. You had no right, I say, and my hands are shaking so badly I have to tuck them under my thighs. That money wasn't yours. It wasn't family money. It was mine. Grandma left it to me. Grandma left it for your education. My mother corrects. And your education is complete. If she were here, she'd understand. She'd want us to use resources wisely, to help where help is needed most. She always said family helps family. There it is again, family helps family. The phrase my mother has used my entire life to justify anything she wants. Borrowing money she never repays, demanding my time, expecting me to sacrifice for Melissa over and over again. I'm transported suddenly to another dinner table, 15 years ago. I'm 13, Melissa is 10. I've been saving money from babysitting for months because I want to buy a guitar. I've found one at the pawn shop for $120 and I almost have enough. Then Melissa decides she wants to take dance classes. Expensive dance classes at the studio across town. My mother sits me down and explains that I need to contribute my savings to help Melissa because family helps family. I give up the guitar money. Melissa quits dance after 3 months. I'm 16. Melissa is 13. I've been accepted to a summer writing program at the university. It's competitive and prestigious, and I'm terrified and thrilled. The program costs $800. My parents say they can't afford it. 2 weeks later, Melissa wants to go to cheer camp. Cheer camp costs $900. My parents find a way to afford it. When I protest, my mother looks at me with disappointment and says, "Melissa needs this for her confidence. You're already so capable, Emma. You'll be fine without the writing program." I'm 22, fresh out of college. I've been accepted to a graduate program with partial funding. I need $10,000 to cover the gap. I ask my parents if I can borrow against my college fund the money Grandma left, the money that should have my name on it. My father says the fund is complicated and not liquid right now. 3 months later, Melissa moves into a new apartment, and my parents give her $5,000 for furniture. Every time, I told myself it was fine. I was capable. I didn't need help. I could do it on my own. And every time Melissa got what she wanted without having to work for it, without having to sacrifice, without even having to ask because our parents anticipated her needs before she voiced them. My competence wasn't admired. It was exploited. They made me strong because it meant they could take from me without guilt. "This is theft," I say quietly. My mother's face transforms. Her eyes fill with tears, instant, perfectly timed tears that spill down her cheeks. "How can you say that? How can you accuse your own parents of stealing when we've given you everything? We raised you, fed you, clothed you, supported you. And this is how you repay us? By being selfish and cruel on your sister's special occasion?" The tears are working on my father. He reaches over and pats my mother's hand. "Emma, your mother is right. This is family money helping family. Your grandmother would have wanted it this way." "Don't tell me what Grandma would have wanted." I snap, and my mother flinches like I've slapped her. "You don't get to use her to justify this. She left that money to me, not to the family fund, not to be redistributed however you see fit, to me. We're not having this conversation if you're going to be hysterical," my mother says, dabbing at her eyes with her napkin. "We invited you here to share the good news about Melissa's wedding, and you're ruining it with your selfishness. I don't even recognize you right now." I push back from the table. My chair scrapes against the floor, loud in the terrible silence. I stand up and my legs are shaking, but they hold me. "I need to leave." "Emma, sit down," my father says. It's the voice he used when I was a child, the one that expects obedience. "We're not done talking about this." "Yes, we are. I'm leaving. If you walk out that door, you're making a choice," my mother warns, her tears forgotten. "You're choosing to put money over family, over your sister's happiness. Is that really who you are?" I look at her. I look at my father. I look at Melissa, who's watching me with something like curiosity, like I'm a show she's watching on television. "I guess it is," I say. I walk out. I don't grab my coat from the hook by the door. I don't take the wine I brought. I just walk out into the cool September evening, and get in my car. My hands are shaking so badly it takes 3 tries to get the key in the ignition. I make it to the end of the street before the panic attack hits. My vision tunnels. My chest constricts. I can't breathe. Can't get air into my lungs no matter how hard I try. I pull over, throw the car into park, and grip the steering wheel while my body betrays me. The panic rolls through in waves, hot, then cold, then hot again. My heart hammers so hard I think it might burst through my ribs. This is what betrayal feels like. Not the sharp pain of a sudden wound, but the slow dawning horror of realizing the wound has always been there. You just kept telling yourself it was something else. A bruise. A scratch. Nothing serious. $80,000. Gone. Stolen. And they don't even think they did anything wrong. I don't know how long I sit there. Long enough for the panic to recede, leaving behind something colder and clearer. Rage. Not the hot, explosive kind, but the ice-cold clarity of fury that knows exactly what it wants. I need to understand how this was legally possible. The fund was a trust. There were supposed to be restrictions, protections. Grandma Helen was meticulous about things like that. She didn't trust my parents, I see that now. See all the small comments and warnings I dismissed as an old woman being difficult. She tried to protect me and they found a way around it anyway. I drive home on autopilot, my mind spinning through everything I know about the college fund. Grandma set it up when I was 10, after my grandfather died and left her with a substantial life insurance payout. She told me it was my security, my future, my ticket to whatever life I wanted to build. She made me promise I'd use it for education, for building something that belonged to me alone. I kept that promise. They broke it. My apartment feels cold when I unlock the door. I moved here 8 months ago, a 1-bedroom in a decent neighborhood, proud of myself for affording it on my own salary. The furniture is mostly secondhand, carefully curated from estate sales and Facebook Marketplace. I've made it cozy string lights along the bookshelf, plants in the windows, framed prints I found at the thrift store. It's mine. I built it myself, without help, because I learned early that help from my family came with strings attached. I drop my keys on the counter and stand in the middle of my living room, still shaking. The boxes are stacked in the corner where I left them 3 months ago, after Grandma's funeral. Her belongings, the things she left to me, I've been avoiding them, telling myself I wasn't ready, that the grief was too fresh. But maybe that wasn't it at all. Maybe some part of me knew what I'd find. I kneel beside the boxes and pull the tape off the first one. Inside are her photo albums, her reading glasses, the Afghan she crocheted in greens and blues. I lift each item carefully, reverently. The second box holds her books mysteries mostly, romance novels with broken spines, a leather-bound journal I didn't know she kept. The third box is paperwork, medical records, bills, insurance documents. And at the bottom, a manila folder with my name written across it in her careful script, Emma. My hands are steady now as I open it. Inside are bank statements for the trust fund, going back 20 years. I see the deposits she made quarterly, watching the balance grow. I see the withdrawals for my tuition, legitimate and documented. And then I see withdrawals I don't recognize. Small ones at first, 1,000 here, 1,500 there, marked as educational expenses. They started my junior year of college and continued after I graduated. There's a letter, tucked between the statements. The envelope is sealed, addressed to me in Grandma's handwriting. My name, and below it, to be opened in the event of my death. I slide my finger under the flap and tear it open. The letter inside is dated 8 months before she died, written in the shaky script of her final year when the cancer was eating through her. My dearest Emma. It begins. I sink onto the floor and read my grandmother's final words to me, and everything changes. I don't remember my 8th birthday party. That's the thing about erasure eventually. The absence becomes so normal you stop noticing the hole where something should have been. But I found the photos last year when I was helping Mom clean out the attic. There I am, 7 years old, turning 8, wearing a purple dress I'd picked out weeks in advance. The cake is on the table, candles unlit. My face is confused, not sad yet, just waiting for something to start. That party never happened. Melissa, who was 5, woke up with a runny nose that morning. Mom decided she needed to stay home with her, and Dad said it didn't make sense for him to handle a party alone. They rescheduled for the following weekend, except they didn't. By then, Melissa was better and wanted to go to the zoo, so we did that instead. I wore the purple dress to the zoo. In the photos, I'm smiling next to the monkey enclosure, and if you didn't know better, you'd think it was a good day. That's how it always worked. Never one dramatic rejection I could point to and say, "Look, this is where they broke my heart." Just 1,000 small moments where I learned my needs were negotiable and hers weren't. My high school graduation. I'd worked so hard, valedictorian, full scholarship to state, everything I thought would finally make them proud. The ceremony was at 2 in the afternoon on a Saturday in June. Hot gymnasium, borrowed cap and gown that smelled like detergent and other people's sweat. I walked across that stage, shook the principal's hand, and when I looked out into the audience, I found them in the third row. Mom was checking her phone. Dad was yawning. They stayed for the diploma presentation. Then Mom touched my shoulder in that quick, distracted way and said Melissa had a dance recital at 4 across town, and they needed to beat traffic. They left before the final speeches. Before the part where they called my name for the Academic Achievement Award, Grandma Helen was there, though. She stood up and cheered loud enough for 3 people, and afterward, she took me to dinner at the Italian place downtown and told me I was going to do extraordinary things. When my acceptance letter came from State, my dream school, the one with the journalism program I'd researched obsessively, I ran downstairs waving the envelope. Mom was making dinner. I told her, breathless and bright, and she said, "That's nice, honey. Can you set the table?" 2 days later, Melissa brought home a report card with 2 B's and 3 C's, and Dad suggested we go out to celebrate her improvement. We went to the steakhouse. They ordered appetizers. I'm looking at these patterns now. Sprawled on my living room floor with Grandma's documents spread around me like evidence at a crime scene, and I'm trying to understand how I lived inside this for 28 years without naming it. How I told myself it was normal, that all families had favorites, that my self-sufficiency was something to be proud of, rather than a survival mechanism I developed because needing them was pointless. Grandma Helen saw it. She must have. Every recital Mom and Dad missed, Grandma was there in the front row. Every award ceremony they skipped, she drove 40 minutes from her house to attend. Saturday mornings were ours, just me and Grandma at Murphy's Diner on 5th Street. She'd order coffee, black, and I'd get hot chocolate with extra whipped cream even when I got too old for it to be cute. We'd sit in the corner booth with the cracked red vinyl, and she'd ask me real questions. Not, "How's school?" but, "What are you reading that's making you think differently?" Not, "Are you behaving?" but, "What did you do this week that scared you?" I was 16 when I finally broke down in front of her. It was a Saturday morning in October, leaves turning gold outside the diner windows. I'd spent the previous night crying into my pillow because Mom had missed my debate tournament, the state finals I'd worked all year to qualify for, because Melissa needed help shopping for homecoming dresses. Something inside me cracked open that morning at the diner, and I told Grandma I felt invisible, that I could disappear and they might not notice for days. She reached across the table and took both my hands. Her skin was papery and warm, spotted with age. "I see you, sweetheart," she said, and her voice was fierce in a way I'd never heard before. "I've always seen you, and I'm making sure you're taken care of." I thought she meant she'd always be there for me emotionally, that she'd keep coming to my events, keep taking me to the diner, keep being the one person who made me feel real. It never occurred to me she might mean something more tangible, something that would outlast her. The attorney's name is Richard Chen. I found his business card in Grandma's paperwork, clipped to a folder labeled with my name. When I called his office Tuesday morning, the receptionist put me through immediately, like she'd been expecting my call. "Miss Morrison," he said, and his voice was kind, but unsurprised. "I wondered when I'd hear from you. I'd like to schedule a meeting as soon as possible regarding your grandmother's estate and some recent complications." Complications. The word hung between us. "What kind of complications?" I asked. "The kind we should discuss in person. Are you available tomorrow at 10? "I am." I rearranged my entire work schedule because whatever Richard Chen knows, I need to know it now. But first, I need to understand exactly what my parents did. The college fund documents are spread in front of me, bank statements going back 15 years, trust agreements, quarterly reports. My parents were listed as co-trustees along with Grandma. The terms are explicit. Funds may only be used for Emma Morrison's educational expenses, including tuition, books, room and board, and education-related costs. In the event of a medical emergency, funds may be accessed for Emma Morrison's healthcare needs. Any other use requires written consent from both Helen Morrison, Grandma, and Emma Morrison herself. They violated every term. The withdrawals started in March, 8 months ago, 4 months before Grandma died. 5,000 here, 10,000 there, then a massive withdrawal of 55,000 in July, 2 weeks after the funeral when the fund was transferred fully into their control. I never signed anything. Grandma certainly didn't approve this. They just took it. I've been stalking Melissa's social media for 2 days now, something I haven't done in months because it usually just makes me feel worse. Her Instagram is a shrine to wedding planning venue photos, dress fittings, calligraphy samples for invitations. She's hashtagging everything. Number Tuscany wedding, number dreams do come true, number blessed beyond measure. I click through to the venue's website. Villa Serenissima, Tuscany. Ceremonies starting at 40,000 euros. I find the photographer she tagged destination wedding packages starting at 12,000. The dress designer gowns ranging from 8 to 15,000. I make a spreadsheet because that's what I do when I'm overwhelmed. I organize information until it makes sense. By the time I'm done, I've calculated a wedding budget of at least $120,000. 80,000 of it was mine. I call my Aunt Susan, Mom's younger sister, who I haven't spoken to in over a year. She sounds surprised to hear from me but warms up quickly. I ask casual questions about the wedding, and she gushes about how extravagant it is, how Melissa deserves this fairy tale, how Brad's parents initially refused to contribute because they thought the budget was irresponsible. But your parents really stepped up, Susan says. Patricia told me they liquidated some investments to make Melissa's dreams come true. That's real love. Liquidated investments. That's what they're calling it. I find the letter fragment that night, 3 in the morning when I can't sleep and I'm going through Grandma's boxes with manic focus. It's a torn envelope, my name written across the front in her shaky, late-stage handwriting. The postmark is from 2 weeks before she died. Inside, the first page is missing, ripped away cleanly, like someone removed it deliberately. The second page starts mid-sentence. Attorney has full instructions regarding the distribution. Emma, sweetheart, they never deserved you. Not your kindness, not your forgiveness, and certainly not your resources. I've made certain you'll never depend on their cruelty again. Everything I've built, everything I've saved, it's yours. Not because you need it, you've proven you can stand on your own, but because you deserve security, because you deserve to know that someone chose you first, always. Trust Richard. The page ends there. I flip it over, searching for more, but there's nothing. I tear through every box, every folder, looking for the first page, for the rest of the letter, for whatever else Grandma was trying to tell me. I find nothing. My phone starts buzzing around noon on Wednesday. Mom, calling. I don't answer. She calls again, and again. By the 5th call, I listen to the voicemail. Emma, honey, we need to talk about this misunderstanding. I know you're upset, but you're blowing this out of proportion. We didn't steal from you, we borrowed from a family resource during a time of need. We'll figure out a way to pay you back eventually, but right now you're causing unnecessary drama during your sister's special time. Please call me back so we can resolve this like adults. The next voicemail 2 hours later is different. I don't appreciate being ignored, Emma. This behavior is incredibly disrespectful. Your father and I raised you better than this. Blood is thicker than money, and if you can't see that, then I don't know what kind of person you've become. Dad texts that evening. Your grandmother would be ashamed of you causing family drama over money. She'd want us to come together, not tear apart. Think about what you're doing. Melissa's message comes through at midnight. I didn't ask them to use your fund, but I'm not apologizing for having a wedding. This is my day, my life, and if you can't be happy for me, that says more about you than it does about me. Stop being bitter and move on. I block all 3 of them. The silence that follows feels like relief and terror in equal measure. I can't sleep. I stand in my bathroom at 4 in the morning, staring at my reflection in the mirror above the sink. The light is harsh, unflattering. I look exhausted. I look like someone who's been betrayed by the people who were supposed to protect her. They stole from me, I say aloud. The words feel wrong in my mouth, disloyal, melodramatic. I say it again. They stole from me. Again. They stole from me. I repeat it until my voice steadies, until the words stop sounding like an accusation and start sounding like a fact. Until I can say it without my throat closing up, without the automatic voice in my head that says I'm overreacting, that family is complicated, that I should be grateful for what I have instead of angry about what was taken. Tomorrow, I meet with Richard Chen. Tomorrow, I find out what else Grandma left me, what other protections she built, what instructions she gave. Tonight, I practice believing that what happened to me was wrong, that my anger is justified, that I'm not selfish for wanting what was mine. I practice until I believe it. Richard Chen's office smells like leather and old paper, the kind of scent that suggests decades of careful work. He's around 60, silver-haired, with wire-rimmed glasses and the calm demeanor of someone who's seen every variety of family ugliness and stopped being surprised years ago. His handshake is firm when I arrive Thursday morning at 10, and he gestures me toward a chair across from his mahogany desk. "Thank you for coming so quickly, Miss Morrison," he says, settling into his own chair. "I've been your grandmother's attorney for 32 years. She spoke of you often." My throat tightens. "She never mentioned you." "She wouldn't have. Helen was private about her plans." He opens a drawer and pulls out a thick manila folder. "Before we discuss your concerns about the college fund, I need to show you something. Your grandmother amended her will 8 months before her death. She anticipated exactly what's happened." He slides the folder across the desk. My hands tremble as I open it. The first document is an estate inventory, typed and notarized. I scan the list and my vision blurs. The lakefront property on Morrison Lane appraised value $1.2 million. A vintage car collection, 1,967 Ford Mustang in pristine condition, 1972, Chevrolet Corvette Stingray, combined value $300,000. Investment accounts with Fidelity and Vanguard totaling $450,000. Personal property, including jewelry collection, estimated $80,000. Household contents, furnishings, personal effects. Every single item lists the same beneficiary, Emma Christine Morrison. "I don't understand," I whisper. "Your grandmother left you everything." Richard's voice is gentle. "The house, the cars, the investments, all of it. There's more." He turns to the next page, and I see the words disinheritance clause at the top. My heart hammers as I read. "I, Helen Margaret Morrison, being of sound mind, do hereby explicitly disinherit my daughter Patricia Ann Morrison and her husband Michael James Morrison from any and all claims to my estate. This decision is made after careful consideration of their demonstrated pattern of favoritism toward my granddaughter Melissa, their emotional neglect of my granddaughter Emma, and their recent theft of Emma's education fund, an action I personally witnessed and documented. Patricia and Michael have proven themselves unfit stewards of the legacy I've built. They will receive no part of my estate save for a final bequest of $50,000, conditional upon their acceptance of this will without contest. There's an attachment, a notarized statement dated 6 months before Grandma died. In it, she describes overhearing a phone conversation between my parents. They were in her kitchen. She was in the hallway, returning from the bathroom. Mom's voice saying they could borrow from my college fund to cover Melissa's wedding, that the trust documents had loopholes, that I was too passive to fight back even if I found out. Dad agreeing, adding that I'd already used the fund for college anyway, so what did it matter? Grandma documented the date, the time, their exact words. She had it witnessed by her neighbor and notarized the next day. She knew, I say, and my voice cracks. She knew they were planning this, and she didn't warn me. She tried. Richard reaches into his desk and produces a sealed envelope, my name written across it in Grandma's handwriting. "She wrote this the day after she amended the will. She asked me to give it to you after her death, once you'd learned what your parents had done. She said you'd need to see their true nature before you'd believe her." I take the envelope with shaking hands. Inside are 2 pages, the complete letter, including the first page I never found. I read it aloud, barely breathing, and Grandma's voice comes alive in my head. "My dearest Emma, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and your parents have done exactly what I feared. By now you know they've stolen your college fund. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I'm sorry I didn't stop them directly, didn't tell you what I'd overheard. But you needed to see who they really are. You've spent your whole life making excuses for their neglect, convincing yourself you were oversensitive, that all families have favorites. You needed proof you couldn't rationalize away. I've watched you be second choice for 28 years. Every milestone they missed, every achievement they dismissed, every time they chose Melissa's wants over your needs. I watched and I stayed quiet too often, thinking it wasn't my place to interfere. That was cowardice dressed up as respect for boundaries. I should have fought harder for you. So I'm fighting now, the only way I can. Everything I've built is yours. Not because you need it, you've proven 1,000 times you can stand on your own, but because you deserve security. You deserve to know that someone chose you first, always. You deserve peace, and the freedom to build a life where you're not perpetually fighting for crumbs of affection. The attorney has full instructions. Trust Richard. He'll guide you through this. And Emma, sweetheart, remember, you think you need their approval. You don't. You need security, peace, and the freedom to build a life where you're someone's first choice, starting with being your own. I love you. I've always loved you. I'm so proud of the woman you've become despite everything. Grandma Helen. I'm crying by the time I finish, tears dripping onto the paper and smudging the ink. Richard hands me a box of tissues without comment. What are my options? I ask when I can speak again. Legally, your parents likely exploited their co-trustee status improperly. You have grounds to sue for full restitution of the $80,000, plus interest and legal fees. That route will be expensive, public, and ugly. It could take years. He steeples his fingers. Alternatively, the inheritance gives you leverage. You can negotiate private repayment, use the threat of legal action to force their hand. Or you can simply walk away financially whole, sever contact, and let them discover the disinheritance when they inevitably inquire about their own inheritance. What about the $50,000 she left them? Contingent on a no contest clause. If they challenge the will in any way, they forfeit it entirely. Your grandmother was very strategic. She gave them just enough to make them think twice about fighting, but not enough to feel satisfied. I think about this. About Grandma playing chess from beyond death, setting up protections I didn't know I needed. Can I see the house? I ask. Richard pulls a key from his desk drawer. I've been maintaining it for you. It's yours whenever you're ready. The lakefront property sits at the end of Morrison Lane, surrounded by oak trees that have grown massive over 40 years. I park in the gravel driveway and just sit for a moment, staring at the pale blue cottage with white trim. I spent every summer here as a child, the only place I felt wholly wanted. Grandma would pick me up the day after school ended and I'd stay until August, swimming in the lake, reading on the porch, helping her garden. Inside, everything is exactly as I remember. The floral couch, the braided rug, the kitchen with yellow curtains. But it's also updated new appliances, fresh paint, the bathroom remodeled. She kept it perfect, waiting for me. I walk through each room, touching surfaces, opening drawers. In the bedroom that was always mine, I find a framed photo on the nightstand. Me at 7, gap-toothed and laughing, Grandma's arm around my shoulders. We're standing on the dock outside, sunset behind us, and the love in her face as she looks at me is unmistakable. This house is a message. Every careful choice, every preservation, every update made in the years before she died. She was building me a sanctuary, a place to land when everything else fell apart. She knew it would fall apart. She was just waiting for me to see it too. I sit on the porch steps as the sun drops lower, and I make my decision. Melissa's wedding is in 2 weeks. I'll go. I'll watch them celebrate with money they stole, watch Mom and Dad play the proud parents, watch Melissa float through her perfect day. I won't say a word about the inheritance or the disinheritance. And then, the day after the wedding, Richard will send formal notification of the will's contents and my intent to pursue full restitution of the college fund. They can have their fairy tale. Then they can face reality. It's not cruelty. It's symmetry. They gave me crumbs while taking everything. Now I'll let them have their moment before showing them exactly how much they've lost. My phone buzzes. A LinkedIn message from Brad Winters, Melissa's fiancé. Hi, Emma. I know this is weird, but I need to talk to you about something important. Can we meet for coffee? We meet Saturday afternoon at a chain cafe downtown. Brad is 29, works in finance. Perfectly nice in the bland way of someone I've met exactly 3 times at family events. He looks exhausted when he arrives, dark circles under his eyes, tie loosened. "Thanks for coming," he says, ordering us both coffee he doesn't touch. I don't know how to say this, so I'll just say it. "I found out where the wedding money came from. Your college fund. Melissa told me you donated it as a gift." I go very still. "She told you I donated it?" "Yeah. She said you were so happy for her. You wanted to contribute since you didn't need the money anymore." His hands clench around his cup. "Then my brother, he's a lawyer, he was at your parents' house last week and saw some documents. He recognized the trust language, asked questions. The truth came out. They took it without asking you." "They stole it," I correct quietly. "They stole it," he repeats, and he looks sick. "Melissa knew. When I confronted her, she acted like it was no big deal. Said it was family money anyway, that you were being dramatic about it, that you'd get over it." He meets my eyes. "I don't know who I'm marrying. The woman I thought I knew wouldn't be okay with theft. Wouldn't watch her sister be robbed and feel entitled to the profit. I study him, this unexpected variable. What are you going to do?" "I don't know. The wedding's in 2 weeks. Deposits are non-refundable. Both families are flying in. But every time I look at her now, I see someone I don't recognize." He runs his hands through his hair. "I'm sorry. I know this isn't your problem. I just thought you should know that not everyone in this mess thinks what they did is okay." We part awkwardly. I don't trust his crisis of conscience. He's complicit by proximity, benefiting from stolen money even if he didn't know the source. But he's a crack in the unified front I expected, and cracks can widen. I return to my apartment as evening falls. The door is locked. Everything looks normal from the hallway. But the moment I step inside, I know someone's been here. Nothing is missing. But things are wrong. The couch cushions are slightly askew. The books on my shelf aren't quite aligned the way I left them. My desk drawers are closed but not fully. I always shut them completely. My laptop is angled differently on the table. And there, prominently displayed on my desk where I couldn't miss it, is a framed family photo I keep in my bedroom closet. All four of us at Melissa's college graduation, the one she attended for 2 years before dropping out. We're smiling, arms around each other, the picture of a happy family. I turn it over with trembling hands. On the back, written in Mom's looping script, "Family forgives." It's a threat disguised as an olive branch. A reminder that they can reach me, that locks and boundaries don't matter, that I'm never truly separate from them. It's also a plea: come back, pretend this never happened, let us continue as we were. I call Richard immediately. My apartment was broken into. Nothing stolen, but they searched my things. They left a message. "I'll file for a restraining order first thing Monday and accelerate the probate process," he says, his calm cracking slightly. "Emma, I want you to consider staying somewhere else until after the wedding." They're escalating. I look around my apartment, my sanctuary that's been violated, and I realize I've been underestimating them. I thought they were selfish, neglectful, capable of financial theft but not actual danger. But people who break into their daughter's home to search her belongings, to remind her they can access her whenever they want, those are people with nothing left to lose. I pack a bag and drive to the lakefront house. If they want to find me, they'll have to confront what they've already lost. The villa in Tuscany is something out of a magazine spread: honey-colored stone, cypress trees lining the drive, tables draped in ivory linen scattered across terraces, overlooking vineyards that roll toward the horizon. I paid my own way here, $1,500 for flights and 3 nights at a nearby hotel, because I needed them to think I'd accepted my role, the compliant sister, the one who shows up and smiles for photos. Every detail screams money. The hand-calligraphed place cards, the imported orchids in crystal vases, the string quartet playing during cocktail hour. I take pictures on my phone, not for Instagram but for my own records. Evidence of what $80,000 buys when you steal it. Mom finds me near the ceremony site, her dress a champagne sheath that probably cost $3,000. She air kisses both my cheeks, her perfume overwhelming, and whispers close to my ear. "See? Everything worked out beautifully. Let's just move past this unpleasantness, Family shouldn't fight." I smile and nod. Dad claps my shoulder awkwardly, says something about how good it is to see me. They're performing for the other guests, playing the role of united family. I play along because in 14 hours, none of this will matter. Melissa glides past in her fitting appointment, The dress, a confection of silk and lace that I know cost 12,000 because I saw her post about it before blocking her. She glances at me, says, "Thanks for coming," in the tone you'd use with a distant acquaintance, and continues toward the bridal suite. She doesn't see me as a person. She never has. I'm scenery in her life, occasionally useful, mostly irrelevant. 3 hours before the ceremony, I'm standing on a stone terrace behind the villa, looking out at rows of grapevines turning gold in the late afternoon sun. The air smells like rosemary and dry earth. I hear footsteps behind me, uneven and heavy. Brad leans against the balustrade beside me. His tuxedo jacket is unbuttoned, his bow tie hanging loose around his neck. His eyes are glassy, he's been drinking, probably steadily since noon. "I can't do this," he says without preamble. I don't respond immediately. Just watch the shadows lengthen across the valley. "Every time I look at her," he continues, his words slightly slurred, "I see someone who watched her sister get robbed and thought she deserved the money, who feels entitled to stolen goods." He laughs, bitter and sharp. "What kind of person does that make her? What kind of person does that make me for marrying her?" I turn to face him. His jaw is tight, his hands gripping the stone like it's the only thing holding him upright. Part of me wants to let him walk away, let this wedding implode, let Melissa face the consequences of her choices in the most public way possible. But I realize something as I stand there. If Brad leaves her at the altar, she becomes the victim. Mom and Dad will rally around her. Will blame him for ruining their investment. Will use her heartbreak to deflect from what they did to me. The theft will disappear under the drama of abandonment. "You should marry her," I say quietly. He stares at me. "What?" "Marry her. Have your wedding. Go on your honeymoon." I meet his eyes. "If you can't live with who she is after that, then leave. But don't give her an out. Don't let her rewrite this story so she's the injured party." He's silent for a long moment. Then he nods slowly, straightens his bow tie, and walks back toward the villa without another word. The ceremony happens at sunset, golden light washing over everything. Melissa looks beautiful, because of course she does. Beautiful dress, beautiful venue, beautiful lie. I sit in the back row and watch my parents cry happy tears. Watch Melissa and Brad exchange vows about honoring and cherishing each other. Watch 200 guests applaud as they kiss. And I feel nothing. No anger, no bitterness, no grief. Just a strange, weightless freedom. These people have no power over me anymore. They took my money, but they can't take who I am. My parents didn't break me. They revealed themselves, and that revelation is the gift I needed. During the reception, while everyone is dancing and drinking wine that costs more per bottle than I make in a day, I slip away. No goodbyes, no explanations. I walk back to my hotel through narrow Tuscan streets, past shuttered shops and cats sleeping on warm stone steps, and when I reach my room, there's an email from Richard waiting. The documents are finalized. All I need to do is approve, and he'll serve them tomorrow morning. I read through every page. The notice of the amended will, the inventory of assets, the disinheritance clause with Grandma's documented reasons, the demand for restitution of $80,000 plus interest and legal fees, the evidence she compiled: bank records, email transcripts, her notarized witness statement of the conversation she overheard. I click approve at 11 p.m. Italian time. 3 a.m. back home, where my parents are probably sleeping peacefully, dreaming of their successful social coup. By 9 a.m., Richard has sent registered mail to their home address and their attorney. Formal legal notification that changes everything. I track the fallout from my hotel balcony, coffee in hand, watching my phone light up with calls I don't answer. Dad calls 14 times in the first hour. I let every single one go to voicemail. Mom's voice messages start arriving around 10 a.m. First, "Emma, there's been some mistake with legal documents we received. Call me immediately." Then, "This is a forgery. Your grandmother would never do this. Someone is manipulating you." Then, an hour later, "You ungrateful, selfish brat. After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us?" By afternoon, she's bargaining. "We can work this out. Split everything 50-50 with Melissa. That's fair, isn't it? That's what family does." Melissa's texts are simpler, sharper. "You're dead to me. You ruined my wedding. I hope you're satisfied." I note the timeline with dark amusement. Her wedding was yesterday. It went perfectly. I'm not ruining anything except their fantasy that theft has no consequences. What I didn't orchestrate but don't prevent. Brad's younger brother works in corporate law. He glimpses the documents, recognizes Richard's firm. They're prominent in estate litigation. He puts the pieces together and tells his parents, who are country club fixtures, board members, pillars of the same social world my parents inhabit. The story spreads, not as gossip but as warning. Within 3 days, Mom resigns from 2 charity boards under pressure. Dad's golf foursome finds reasons to be busy. Invitations to galas and fundraisers quietly stop arriving. The social circle they've cultivated for decades pulls away, because nobody wants to associate with people who steal from their own daughter. I fly back to the States and drive directly to the lakefront house. The moving truck I hired is already there, my belongings from the apartment packed and ready. I change the locks myself, install new deadbolts, establish legal residency with Richard's documentation. My parents show up the second afternoon. I'm on the porch with Richard and a police officer arranged for exactly this possibility. Dad's car pulls into the driveway, both of them climbing out like they have every right to be here. "This is our mother's house," Mom announces, striding toward the porch. "You can't just take it." The officer steps forward. "Ma'am, this property legally belongs to Miss Morrison as of 3 weeks ago. You're currently trespassing." Dad's face crumples. He actually starts crying, there on the lawn, his shoulders shaking. "Emma, please. We're your parents. We can talk about this." Mom's expression is pure hatred, all pretense abandoned. "Your grandmother was a bitter, poisonous old woman who turned you against your family. That's what this is. Poison." I look at her from the porch. This woman who gave birth to me but never chose me. "She loved me," I say quietly. "You didn't. That's not poison. That's truth." They leave when the officer suggests that refusing to vacate is an arrestable offense. Melissa calls from her honeymoon 4 days later. I almost don't answer, but curiosity wins. She's crying so hard I can barely understand her. Brad wants an annulment. He says he can't trust me, that I'm not who he thought I was. Her voice breaks. "You have to fix this, Emma. Tell him it was all a misunderstanding. Drop the lawsuit, please." "I can't fix what you broke," I say. "Your marriage is your responsibility. My healing is mine." "I hope you're happy." She spits through tears. "Alone in that house with your blood money." "It's not blood money," I reply. "It's love money. And yes, Melissa, I'm happy." I end the call. That night, I'm unpacking boxes in what used to be Grandma's bedroom and is now mine. The house smells like lemon polish and the lake breeze coming through open windows. I find an envelope in the nightstand drawer, my name on the front, "To Emma, when you're home." Inside, one page in Grandma's handwriting. "This was always meant to be yours. Not as compensation for their failure, but as celebration of who you are. Build your life here. Fill it with people who choose you first. I'll always be proud of you, Grandma Helen." I sit on the edge of the bed and cry, not from sadness but from something I've never felt before. The absolute certainty that I was loved exactly as I am, without conditions, without having to earn it. The unfamiliar weight of being chosen first, protected, claimed. I'm home. 6 months have passed since I changed the locks on the lakefront house, and I barely recognize my life, in the best possible way. The renovations started small, repainting the kitchen cabinets a soft sage green, replacing the floral curtains with linen ones that let in more light. I kept Grandma's oak dining table, the one with knife marks from decades of meal prep, but added modern pendant lights above it. The living room still has her vintage couch, reupholstered in navy velvet. It's a blend of her world and mine, past and present coexisting without conflict. I quit my marketing job in August, gave 4 weeks' notice, trained my replacement, and walked out of that office for the last time with a lightness I didn't know was possible. The inheritance gave me something I'd never had before: choice. I freelance now, taking projects I actually care about, working from the sunroom that overlooks the water. Some months I make more than my old salary, some months I make less. It doesn't matter. I have enough. Every morning I take my coffee to the dock. It's become a ritual, this quiet hour before the day starts. I sit on the weathered wood, feet dangling above the water, and watch mist rise off the lake. Grandma would have loved this. She would have sat right here beside me, her own mug cradled in both hands, saying nothing because nothing needed to be said. Therapy started in July. Dr. Sarah Kim, 52, calm and relentlessly perceptive. At first, I thought we'd just process the theft and the betrayal, but it goes deeper than that. We're excavating the foundation, the childhood conditioning that taught me my needs were negotiable, that love was something you earned through compliance, that speaking up made you selfish. Unlearning those lessons is harder than I expected. Some days I still catch myself minimizing, apologizing for taking up space, wondering if I overreacted. Doctor Kim is patient with these relapses, gently redirecting me back to the truth. They stole from me, and my anger is justified. The legal settlement finalized in September. My parents couldn't afford a trial, the retainer alone would have bankrupted them. Their attorney negotiated a structured repayment, $1,000 per month for 80 months, secured against their house. If they miss a payment, I can place a lien on the property. It's not full restitution. I waived the interest and most of the legal fees as my concession, just to end it. But it's acknowledgement. A legal document that says what they did was theft, signed by both of them. The agreement includes a no-contact clause. They're barred from calling, texting, emailing, or showing up at my home. The only communication allowed is the monthly payment confirmation. I purchased my peace with precision, and it was worth every dollar I didn't recover. I heard about Melissa through Rachel, my new friend from the library book club. Rachel's cousin works at the mall where Melissa's employed now, folding clothes at a boutique chain. The marriage lasted 4 months. Brad filed for divorce in August, citing irreconcilable differences. Melissa moved back in with our parents. Her Instagram, once a highlight reel of wedding extravagance, is now private and nearly empty. I expected to feel satisfaction. Instead, I feel something uncomfortably close to pity. Not enough to reach out, not enough to forgive, but enough to recognize that she's also a casualty of our parents' dysfunction. Being the golden child didn't protect her, it just damaged her differently. She never learned resilience because she never needed it. Never developed accountability because she was never held responsible. Never built genuine self-worth because her value was always tied to being chosen over me. She's 25 and moving backward, living with parents who enabled her into fragility. I'm mourning something I never had, the sister we could have been in a different family, in a world where love wasn't rationed and comparison wasn't currency. That grief is real, even if the relationship wasn't. My new life has new people. Rachel, 43, divorced, hilarious, with zero interest in drama. We meet every Thursday for book club, and she's become the kind of friend who shows up with wine when you need it and silence when words won't help. I'm dating again casually, carefully, learning what healthy looks like after 28 years of warped modeling. Green flags feel foreign. Consistency, direct communication, respect for boundaries. I'm teaching myself to trust them. Great Aunt Dorothy came into my life in October. She's 92, Grandma Helen's older sister, living in an assisted care facility 40 minutes away. I found her contact information in Grandma's address book and called on impulse. She invited me to visit, and now I go every Sunday. Dorothy tells stories about their childhood, about their mother, my great-grandmother, who was critical and cold, impossible to please. Grandma Helen grew up feeling invisible, just like I did. Dorothy explains that's why Helen was so fiercely protective of me, why she saw the pattern repeating and intervened the only way she knew how. It doesn't excuse the secrecy or the posthumous control, but it provides context. Hurt people, and healed people break cycles. I've established the Helen Morrison Scholarship Fund with $100,000 from the investment accounts. It's specifically for first-generation college students from dysfunctional family systems, kids who are succeeding despite their families, not because of them. The application includes an essay. Describe a time when someone saw your potential when your family didn't. I've read 43 submissions so far. Every single one breaks my heart and puts it back together. My story isn't unique. It's devastatingly common. But now I can do something with that knowledge. Extend the protection Grandma gave me outward, turning inherited money into inherited values. Therapy has its breakthroughs and setbacks. Last week I cried for an hour because I still feel guilty. Guilty for pursuing the lawsuit, for not forgiving them, for choosing myself. Doctor Kim asked what I'm really grieving. My family, I said. Your real family? she pressed. Or the family you deserved? That distinction cracked something open. I'm not mourning my actual parents, the people who stole from me and broke into my apartment. I'm mourning the parents I should have had. The ones who would have protected my college fund, celebrated my achievements, chosen me at least half as often as they chose Melissa. Those parents don't exist. They never did. I'm grieving a fantasy, and that realization is strangely freeing. I can stop waiting for them to transform into different people. I can stop holding space for an apology that will never come. 2 weeks ago, I ran into Mom at the grocery store. Completely unplanned, unavoidable. I was in the produce section, weighing avocados, and I looked up and there she was, 10 feet away, holding a package of strawberries. We made eye contact. She looked older, new lines around her mouth, gray roots showing. Smaller somehow, diminished. Her mouth opened like she might speak. I waited, curious what she'd say after 6 months of legally mandated silence. She closed her mouth, turned away, walked down the aisle in the opposite direction. No apology, no confrontation, just mutual recognition that we are strangers now, passing in public spaces, bound by nothing but biology. I went back to choosing avocados, and I felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, not even the grim satisfaction of victory, just a blank, neutral distance. That absence of emotion is its own kind of freedom. Today is Thanksgiving. I'm hosting for the first time in my life, in my house, with my people. The dining table is set for 7. Rachel and her partner James, Great Aunt Dorothy, 3 of the scholarship recipients I've been mentoring, Kayla, 19, Marcus, 21, and Sophia, 18. Doctor. Kim declined the invitation gently, maintaining professional boundaries, but sent flowers. The turkey is in the oven, the house smells like rosemary and butter, and I'm arranging Grandma's good china, the set she never used because she was saving it for special occasions. This is that occasion. They arrive in pairs and singles, bringing pies and wine and stories. We eat and laugh, and when I suggest we go around the table sharing gratitude, no one groans like it's cheesy. Rachel is grateful for her daughter's college acceptance. Marcus is grateful for the scholarship that made his sophomore year possible. Dorothy is grateful to be here, to see Helen's legacy living on. When it's my turn, I say simply, I'm grateful for my grandmother, who taught me that love is action, and for all of you who chose to be here. No one asks about my real family. No one wonders why my parents and sister aren't at this table. Because this is my real family, the one I built deliberately, the one that chose me as much as I chose them. The table is full. The conversation is genuine. And for the first time in my life, I am enough exactly as I am. Not because I've forgiven the unforgivable, not because I've reconciled the irreconcilable, but because I've stopped waiting for people who were never coming. I've come home to myself. I'm sitting at Grandma's old writing desk tonight, the one with the scratched surface and the drawer that sticks. In front of me is the leather journal she gave me when I turned 16 blank pages. I never felt worthy enough to fill. Tonight, I'm finally writing my story. Not for anyone else. For me. Here's what I've learned. Family isn't about blood. We're taught that blood is thicker than water, but most people don't know the full quote. The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. It means the opposite. The bonds we choose are stronger than the ones we're born into. Family is a verb, not a noun. It's what people do, how they treat you, whether they show up. Biology creates relatives. Love and respect create family. Financial abuse in families is more common than anyone admits. My story isn't unique, it's devastatingly ordinary. Adult children have college funds drained, inheritances stolen, credit destroyed by parents who forge signatures and justify it as borrowing. The shame victims feel is crushing because we're taught that parents always want what's best for us. But wanting the best for you and acting in your best interest are completely different things. If you're experiencing this, here's what I wish someone had told me. Document everything, know your legal rights, consult an attorney, and understand that financial abuse is still abuse even when it's technically legal. You're not crazy. You're not overreacting. Your anger is valid. I've thought a lot about Grandma Helen these past months. Why did she succeed where others fail? Because she didn't just sympathize, she acted. Her will wasn't interference. It was accountability. She saw what my parents were and built a fortress to protect me. If you have an advocate like that in your life, honor them. And if you don't, become that person for someone else. Break the cycle by refusing to be a bystander. Let's talk about forgiveness, because people love to weaponize that word. Forgiveness and reconciliation are not the same thing. I've forgiven my parents in the sense that I've released the corrosive anger that was poisoning me. I don't fantasize about their suffering anymore. I don't need their apology to move forward. But reconciliation? That would require their accountability, genuine changed behavior, and my willingness to be vulnerable with them again. None of those exist. Don't let anyone tell you that forgiveness means giving people continued access to hurt you. You can forgive from a distance. You can forgive and still protect yourself. Rebuilding after betrayal is ongoing work. I'm learning to trust selectively, to recognize what healthy relationships look like, to parent my own inner child the way Grandma parented me. Some days I still struggle hypervigilance, difficulty accepting help, fear of being too much, but I'm healing. The house Grandma left me represents stability, but my real home is internal now, a sense of worthiness that nobody can steal. So here's my question for you. Who do you minimize yourself for? What would advocating for yourself cost? And more importantly, what's the cost of not doing it? Who in your life offers conditional love versus unconditional regard? Your path won't look like mine, but you deserve protection even if you have to provide it yourself. I close the journal and walk out to the dock. The sun is setting, painting the lake copper and gold. Behind me, the house glows warm in the fading light. Grandma's Mustang sits in the driveway. I'm learning to drive it, using the inheritance instead of preserving it like a museum piece. I'm not looking backward anymore. I'm looking at the horizon, at everything still ahead. And I swear I hear Grandma's voice on the wind. You were always my favorite, Emma. Not because you were better, but because I saw you as you are, and that was enough. If this story resonated with you, if you've experienced something similar or you're still trying to find your way out, leave a comment below. Your story matters. You're not alone. And if you found value in this, please like this video and subscribe. It helps more people find these stories and realize they're not crazy for setting boundaries. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here.